Hello, everyone, and happy Friday to you. My name is Caden Pounders. I'm the sports editor at the Franklin Free Press. And just like last week, we're going to go through a little bit of a preview for all six Franklin County football teams. Last week, we had three teams in action and three teams that were off. This week, we've got all six teams playing. So this one's going to be a little bit longer than last week's, but uh, we're going to try and give you a little bit of what happened last week, who each team is playing this week, and maybe a little bit of what you can look out for. We're going to go in alphabetical order, and so with that, we're going to start with Belgrade. The Belgrade Bulldogs coming off a great historic win against Shoals Christian, a 20-6 victory over Shoals Christian after going up. And keep this in mind. This will be a good trivia question in the future. Belgrade gets its first points on a safety. They go up 2-0. Shoals Christian comes back. It's answers with a touchdown in the first quarter. It stays 6-2 until halftime, and then in the second half, Belgrade establishes the running game and scores 18 unanswered points to win 20-6. Talking to Coach Jonathan Raper earlier this week, he was talking about how, what an amazing atmosphere it was at Sparks Stadium, first game there. I mean, he knew that it was going to be, exciting and there were going to be a lot of people, but he wasn't expecting that many people. And he and his team were not expecting that many people. So the Belgrade community fans really showed up and showed out and came to support the team and, didn't come away disappointed. Got the win in the first game there at Sparks Stadium. Um, in the second half, the key to Belgrade's success in that game, according to Coach Draper, was the running game that I mentioned. Running back Skylar Victory got two rushing touchdowns, a long one and a short one. I think the first one was 67 yards. And if you if you saw that game or if you go and look at the highlights, um, you'll see um, you'll see one of the reasons why Belgrade was successful in the running game, and what Coach Raper explained was they were looking for that cutback. They thought that they could exploit that against Shoals Christian. They did. If you look at that first Scholar victory run, takes the handoff, cuts back towards the inside, gets towards midfield, jukes the guy, and then he's gone. And the second touchdown, same way. They hit a cutback and left him with a good hole to run through. And so Belgrade was able to exploit that against Charles Christian. It helped them to a victory and a really exciting victory. And so this week they're going to play Summerton Christian. They're traveling to Summerton Christian. They're going to look to carry that momentum into that game and hopefully come away with a road victory this week. Last week, Summerton Christian fell to Victory Christian 51-7. So, um, I'll be honest, don't really know how that game's going to turn out. I don't know, how good. I know Victory Christian, has a pretty good athletics program. I'm not totally sure about Summerton Christian. So we'll just have to wait and see how that game plays out. But it's obviously the first meeting between these two teams, so not a whole lot of history um, to go with. But obviously, Belgrade really excited, really pumped up with that first win, and they're going to carry that momentum into their second game of the season. Next up, we're going to go to Phil Campbell. Phil Campbell is playing their first game of the week this week, or first game of the year this week. They are traveling to, or sorry, they're hosting Hamilton. These two teams have a little bit of a history, but Phil Campbell's history is not great against Hamilton. They're 4-26-1 all time against the Aggies. Last victory being in 1986. So they're going to want to turn that around a little bit. But uh, if you've read anything that I've written this year about Phil Campbell, or if you've heard head coach Jacob Hamilton, this is the second year. If you've heard him speak, that guy has a lot of energy. He's young. He's excited. He's pumped up for this season. He has a lot of returning talent this year. A lot of older talent, a lot of experience. So they're going to lean on that experience. And he's talked a lot about how hard they've worked this offseason, how much bigger his guys have gotten, how much stronger his guys have gotten um, since last season. And so they're really looking forward to this year. They've got some big guys like Johan Vasquez, offensive lineman who plays on both sides of the ball, coming back. They've got their quarterback returning from last season. They've got running backs returning from last season. They have guys all over the field that are returning, so they're really looking forward to that. to this season with that experience and that leadership that they have coming back. One of the big things that Phil Campbell's looking to do this year is get over that playoff hump. They played in the first round of the playoffs the last 4 years, but they've lost every year in the first round, and they haven't gotten out of the first round since the year 2000. So the Bobcats are really going to try to obviously have big goals like winning the region, getting to the playoffs, but their big goal this year is um, getting to the second round and potentially further this year under second year head coach Jacob Hamilton. And I think the Hamilton game is going to be a good litmus test. Hamilton's a classification higher; they're in 4A. Phil Campbell's in 3A. Um, Phil Campbell has a little bit of that monkey on the shoulder with Hamilton, so um, I think this will be a good litmus test for Phil Campbell to see just how good they can be this year. If they're competitive, maybe they don't win, but if they're super competitive against the Aggies and can put up points, that's another thing that Coach Hamilton is really looking to see his team do this year. I think he said his goal was to score 31 points a game, and on defense to allow under 21 points per game. So we'll see if they can do that in their first game of the season. Um, I think high expectations for Phil Campbell, who's in a new region this year, and they're going to be playing some tough competition in that region. So let's see how the Bobcats can do in week one, and um, maybe from there we'll have a better idea of just how good this team can be. All right. Moving on to Red Bay. Now, Red Bay is another team that didn't play last week. They had a bye week. And so this week they're heading to Lamar County for their first game of the year. Um, Red Bay is a team that lost quite a few guys, lost quite a few seniors last season. And so they're going to be looking to um, find guys that can replace that experience, two issues or at least two positions that Coach Heath Childers was looking to kind of improve on if they were going to improve on if they were going to be good this year or if they were going to be able to play to their best ability this year. Was it linemen? They lost I think four offensive linemen last year, so that's obviously huge. He was talking about how earlier in the preseason, if you can't block anybody, then you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. Your running backs have to have space. Your quarterbacks have to have protection, and so he's something you gotta have. He's having to replace those guys, and it's gonna depend on if those guys can step up um, and play well. If Red Bay is gonna have a good year this year, and similarly on defense at the defensive back position, lost some guys there and um, really needs either talent or experience to step up and fill those roles that were left void with the departure of a large senior class last season. One thing to look out for is at the quarterback position, junior Braden Tabs, who formerly played wide receiver and cornerback. He has been moved to the quarterback position. He's going to be more of a scrambling quarterback. Um, but Coach Childers, again, earlier this year said that he has the ability and the talent um, to be a good quarterback for Red Bay. Um, the reason that he said that he put uh, Braden Tabs in that position was he's very coachable, and so he believes that he can coach Tabs to be a great quarterback, and if Tabs can trust Coach Childers to put him in a good position, he thinks they can have a good working relationship, and they can potentially have two good seasons with him at quarterback, and we'll see how far Red Bay can go this year. Again, they're playing Lamar County. Red Bay doesn't have a great record against Lamar County. They're 2-7 all time. Lamar County um, uh, beat Lamar County beat Red Bay back in 2017, and the last time Red Bay beat Lamar County was 2005. So we'll see if Red Bay in their first game of the year can get one over on Lamar County, who won last week. Next up is Russellville. Russellville is coming off a 35-21 win over over Deshler in their first game. A huge part of that game was, and a huge performance in that game was Cameron Finney, who had 4 touchdowns, rushed for over 350 yards. Was definitely the player of the game in that game. had some long runs. I think his longest was 88 yards. Um, and so first play from scrimmage for the Golden Tigers, takes it to the house. So that was kind of the game that was. But the Golden Tigers did have to come from behind in that game. They went down 21-7, went and scored 28 unanswered points to come from behind and win that game in the second half. Um, that's been kind of the running story for the Golden Tigers and Russ and Deschler the last 2 seasons. But uh, Coach Goodwin in his debut got the win, and I know that he was super excited about that. Pleased with how his players performed against Deschler. Really happy with specifically the halftime adjustments. Felt that the Golden Tigers, knew what was going wrong, and then in halftime adjusted well, and came out in the second half and executed on those adjustments. And because of that, they were able to get the win. Um, Something to watch out for, this week as Russell travels to Mars Hill. That's number one, Mars Hill has played Russell twice. They've beaten Russell twice. Both games have been nail biters. It was a 31-30 win in 2022 for the Panthers, and then Russell was beaten 27-24 last season. So two really close games against Mars Hill, who since starting a football program in 2014 has seen a lot of success in 3A. Well, starting in 1A, they won a championship in 1A, won a championship in 2A, and now they're in 3A. That football program has seen success at every level they've been in so far, and they've also seen success against the Golden Tigers, beating them twice in their two matchups. Um, Another thing to look out for is the quarterback situation for Russellville. Last week against Deschler, Whit Goodwin, he's a freshman. He's Coach Goodwin's son, and Trip Cleveland, a sophomore. They split reps in that game. In that game against Deschler, Whit Goodwin got the start. Trip Cleveland came in a different series. They kind of swapped out a little bit. Trip Cleveland did get a long touchdown pass to Gunnar Sappington. That was his biggest contribution on the night. Um, it'll be talking to Coach Goodwin after that game. He said that both guys did well. Both guys contributed. Both guys did certain things in that game well, and that's kind of that goes back to their skill set. He'll tell you that you know Wick Goodwin is a little bit faster, can scramble a little bit better, can throw on the run a little bit better. Strip Cleveland has a stronger arm, is bigger, um, and older, has more experience, and he can also, he's more of a pocket quarterback. If you give him time to sit in the pocket and throw, he's going to deliver it for you. So both of these guys have different skill sets. We'll have to wait and see how that quarterback position role is going to play out. Can any of these two quarterbacks, can they kind of get a stranglehold on the position and grab it permanently for themselves? Will that be in practice? Will it be in a game? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So that will be one big thing to keep an eye on with Russell this week is can either Goodwin or Cleveland, and either one of those quarterbacks get a grip on the quarterback position and kind of steal it from themselves in this quarterback position between these two guys. Um, Next week, the Golden Tigers will travel to Lawrence County for their first region game, so they'll stay on the road. But region play is coming thick and fast for the Golden Tigers next week after this one. All right, and then moving on to our next team, that's going to be Tharptown. Tharptown, just to be honest, uh, kind of got to hand it to them last week. 68-0. When they traveled to Danville, took a thorough beating from Danville, 68-0. So we'll see if the Tharptown Wildcats can kind of turn things around in week two. They're going to be hosting. Um, they're going to be hosting Waterloo this week. Waterloo didn't play last week, so this will be Waterloo's first game. Maybe um, with maybe some first game jitters from Waterloo on the road. Tharptown can get a win. Obviously, Coach John Johnson being a defensive minded quarterback, he's not Not going to be too pleased with that 68-0 defeat against Danville, and he's definitely going to want to, turn things around, get some more things going on offense. That was their first week last week against Danville, running the traditional wing T offense. Um, I haven't spoken to Coach Johnson, but we'll see if they make some tweaks or if they make some changes to try and, obviously they want to put more points on the board. Well, anything's better than zero, right? So we'll see what they can do. Series history: Thorptown is 5-6 all time against Waterloo. They last played in 2017. The Wildcats lost that one 35-3. Their last win against Waterloo was back in 2016. That was a 29-21 victory. So we'll see if we'll see if Thorptown can get on a winning streak here, get back to winning ways before they host Belgreen, who I think Thorptown and Belgreen is going to be one of those cool Franklin County rivalries in the future once Belgreen gets really off and running with his program, and if Coach Johnson can turn the Thornton program around, that might be a really cool rivalry for folks in Franklin County. And then finally, to finish off, we've got Vina. Vina is hosting Brindley Mountain. Vina didn't play last week, so this is going to be their first game of the 2024 campaign. Um, Vina is returning a lot of experience this year. We'll start with starting with Christian McCarley, the quarterback, and then Trevor Baker, who, according to Coach Cody Renfro, is they're going to be their quote unquote the workhorse, the guy that's really going to be carrying the load for the offense this season. And they've also got Kyle Lawler, who is back at running back this year too. Um, Vina, the according to Coach Renfro, the biggest thing for Vina is depth. They're going to have a lot of guys playing both ways. So really, one thing they've been working on this offseason has been conditioning. Trying to make sure that they're going to be good going both sides of the ball with their players. And then the number two thing is physicality. Coach Renfro, uh, because of that depth issue last season, felt like they didn't want to have guys hitting too hard, hitting too much in practice, with the potential of getting hurt. But the side effect of that was he felt they weren't very physical last year, and they've changed things this year to where they're hitting every day, they're in full pads every day, and they're really trying to get more physical on both sides of the ball. And so, this year Vina's going to look to score more points, obviously, and more importantly, not give up as many points on defense. Being more physical, they feel like and tackling, they feel like the tackling is going to improve. So we'll see what Vina can do. These two teams have never met before, so there's not any history to go over with Vina and Brindley Mountain. Um, but just look for Vina to establish the run game. That's going to be their strength. And then try to play a little bit better on defense this year so that they can and keep their offense in the game. Next week, the Red Devils are going to open region play. They're going to be on the road at Phillips in Bear Creek, and Vina hasn't beaten Phillips since 2019. That game in 2019 was a close one, 8-7. So we'll see if Vina can overcome that next week against Phillips. But that's what we got for this week. Thank you for joining me. We're gonna do this every week throughout the season. So I hope your team wins this week. Whoever you might support. And again, we'll be back next week with another football preview for Franklin County. My name is Caden Pounders. This has been your Week 1 Franklin County football preview. Thanks for joining me and have a great weekend.